Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 52, and it's kind of a weird turn. We got some stuff going on. Let's jump into things. No research or anything like that to kick this turn off with, so right into site searching. Did a voice of Apsu, found nothing. Dark Knowledge found a Black Sands in our underwater province. In Underhome, so cool. That's just a Death 1 site. I'm not super familiar with all of the names of the underwater sites, so that's been kind of interesting seeing these. Auspex found nothing. Nomalor found nothing. Augury found a Rage Flame Tower in Thorn Woods. That's a Fire 1 site, so cool. Another Augury found nothing, and then Arcane Probing in Underhome found a Pearl Farm and an Enchanted Current. And that is actually really cool. A Pearl Farm is 1 Astral, and an Enchanted Current is 2 Astral, and increases magic, which is really of no consequence to us. But that is a big deal. So for site searching, that's Fire +1 per turn, Astral +3 per turn, and Death +1 per turn. That is really cool. So that's actually really exciting. So sorry, un momento. I got distracted. I was reading a thing. And that's really cool for us because we now have 16 astral per turn. That's a big deal, right? 16 astral without any globals, no stellar focus or anything like that. That's pretty intense. That is actually over the threshold, right, that we want potentially for some summon Huacas, which we will actually have next turn. So that's actually pretty exciting. And what I mean by over the threshold is that we could potentially cast summon Huacas every turn, and still not lose Astral Pearls, actually continue to gain Astral Pearls. And that's amazing. That's a really big deal, right? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. It's a shit ton of Astral, actually. And we're also happy to have the additional Fire, right? We're actually up to Fire 5 now. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more, and we're actually up to Death 9. Definitely would like some more there, but happy enough, right? 16 Astral. Holy shit. That's a big deal. I'm flabbergasted. We've got some battles to review. We watched a battle between Vanheim and Jotunheim. And this was a magic phase. I believe this guy Cloud Trapezed in. Vine Shield, Firebrand, Armor of Knights. Pretty basic gear. The Firebrand, I mean, not inexpensive gear, right? But pretty basic. And I think... What's he up against? He's up against a Veti Hag. Past Protection. And a small group of Jotun Spears. So this guy is all but definitely going to fuck this up. He's going to fly here in a second, I would assume. Yep, he's flying. Where's he going to land? Well, in the midst of the giants. Interesting. I don't think it's going to matter, obviously, right? You either have to get really lucky, right, in this type of scenario to kill a... Ooh. They are chipping through. It's just not quite going to be enough. Actually did do a little bit of damage there. Could have been a costly loss for Vanheim there, but it was a win instead. We actually... I don't know if this was really intentional or if this was just me goofing around or not really thinking about it, right? But, like, we started blood hunting in Miratrand and the off chance that we maybe, like, snag... Because we don't have any actual blood hunters, so we just have some of the people that are there patrolling that don't need to be patrolling. I was like, we'll just set them to blood hunt. Probably all this is going to do is drive up the unrest there. But I don't know that matters too terribly much. We're not really making money off of that location and we're patrolling all the unrest down every single turn. What it's probably going to do, it's probably going to end up us burning through the population faster. So this is... I shouldn't have done this, but whatever. Ultimately, I don't think this is of much consequence. And then we have an actual battle in Forgotten Woods. This is us attacking the throne again. And this is just another big pile of Haten Runa, all synced up this time. And the hope, right, is that, again, they're not going to do any damage to the Watchers. They're not going to do any damage to the Monolith. The hope is that they kill maybe 10, 20 or so of the Deer Tribe, right? That's the idea. And even then, probably not them killing 10 or 20 of the Deer Tribe. Probably the Watchers and the Monolith killing a fair amount of the Deer Tribe in killing the Haten Runa. Alright, so let's see how this goes. Dude does Strength of Gaia. So a good number fall... Shit. That's some gifts from heaven. Did he hit himself? He did not. That would have been really funny. Blade Wind coming out. It does not look like we got very many. Might actually be better for us to hold an attack and then hold an attack closest. That way the Deer Tribe gets a little ways. Yeah, we did not kill very many at all. I say we barely killed any, and a couple of others got tagged by, friendly fire. So that, again, did not go as well as expected, unfortunately. So, battles for the turn versus Indies, 0 wins, 1 loss. We're being very... What's the phrase here? We're being very non-committal with this throne. The idea being that... I'm kind of scared of it, right? Like, we could lose quite a bit. If we just threw an army at it, we might win, right? We'll probably win. If we just threw a big stack at it, we'd probably win. But we would also probably lose a fair amount, and that concerns me. I don't want to take this throne and lose a whole bunch with Pelagia being, kind of like waiting in the wings. So we're being very non-committal about what we're throwing. We don't care about losing these Haten Runa in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This just saved us, like another 19 gold. Okay, fine, whatever. But we do need to figure something out. This obviously isn't working. There are little variations that we could do on it that would probably improve. Like I was saying, hold an attack closest would let the Deer Tribe get closer to us, and then we could maybe envelop them, and then we'd do a little bit better. But ultimately, I think we're probably going to have to scale up our commitment there and be a little riskier. So I think we've got a plan. So that's battles for the turn. Events for the turn. An event in Austin Glen. A spring fairy has been sighted, spreading joy and laughter in the land. Cool. This is kind of... I'm not going to say a whatever event. Minus unrest. We've got patrollers in Austin Glen. The growth is kind of interesting. This will actually lead to a little bit of growth, but it won't stick around forever. So it's not that big of a deal. And the luck is kind of whatever to us. And then in Neeple, a handful of magic gems have been found on a desolate mountaintop. So we got air +7. I don't know if you can see. So new edition, temporary edition, but right here I actually have a terrarium for my sister's chameleon. I'm not really house sitting it or pet sitting it. My fiance is going to be pet sitting it while we go to Thanksgiving, and the cats are this. I just got this in here like 30 minutes ago, right? So the cats are very much like, what the fuck is this thing? And circling it and getting on top of it and everything like that. So, poor little Pascal, which is the chameleon, is just kind of like hanging out. I think he's doing fine, though, because they also have pets, so this isn't like the first time that Pascal has been like looked at like, what the fuck is this thing? But anyways, if you see cats circling around in this vicinity, that is why. So events for the turn. We got 0 negative events and 2 positive events. And kind of like a weird melange of things. Austin Glen, Unrest -7, Growth +3, Luck +2, and then we got Air Gems +7. So cool. And aside from that, a worldwide event is happening. Misfortune 1, due to the Throne of Misfortune being taken. We completed construction on the Palisades in Mark. Cool. And then we knew this was going to happen, right? But our troops in Set Randith are starving, right? I say we knew this was going to happen. I overlooked it on the actual turn, and then in recording the turn, we were well aware that, oh, this is a stupid mistake that we're making, right? So immediately we have caused the affliction of quite a few units. And yeah, let's just talk about this, because we've got like 2 major things that are happening this turn, and this is one of them. We could get the fuck out of here and try to mitigate the amount of diseases that are going to be spread. We are doubling down on this and deciding, nah, fuck that. We're not going to go anywhere. So instead of trying to get out of Sat Randith and prevent a shit ton more afflictions, we're basically saying, no. This is a nation. We've got a plan. This is a nation that can handle this. We are going to sit here and get another 50 fucking afflictions. We're going to go ahead and enter the site and start benefiting from this combat training, right? We've already got a fair number of experience points on a lot of these units, right? Some of these have been around for quite a while, so we should be able to get up to that 2 and 3 pips pretty quickly. We are going to build a lab here, and we'll go through all the actual like mechanical things that we're doing this turn here in a second. But we're gonna build a lab this turn and basically use that lab to then have access to items so that we can use things like endless bags of wine and cauldrons of broth to get our supplies in control. And we're also going to be throwing in more and more of these Pakwo of the mountain spirits. So we're probably going to try to get 5 or so Pakwos into Sat Randith, and then they're curing 5 diseases every single turn, and Mama Pacha is healing 2 afflictions every single turn, and eventually, right, like, we might lose a couple units, we might not, but ultimately we should heal up all of the disease and afflictions that we're going to be causing over the course of the next 10 to 15 turns, right? That's the idea. That's the plan. Don't know if that's going to... I don't know if if the juice is worth the squeeze there, right? We're basically... The idea is that if we don't do this turn, if we pull out, right, then we're not benefiting from the experience this turn, and we won't be benefiting from the experience the next turn, right? So it would be 3 turns from now at the soonest. We'd leave, then we'd come back, and then we'd be able to actually, like, enter the Ancient Master. So what I'm deciding is rather than pushing that timeline out, I'm deciding we're just going to take the afflictions, we'll heal the diseases and afflictions over the course of this training montage, right? But we want to start the training montage earlier. So that's the kind of plan. I don't know if that's the right choice. I don't know if this is even really, like, worth our time. But the idea being is that we can throw a lab in here, and we can have a bunch of Pakwos in here to actually research, and we can put lightless lanterns on Pakwos just as easily as we can on Aklas, right? And then there's actually some other interesting things that we can do with Pakwos of the Mountain Spirits. So I don't think we're going to recruit these guys, and I don't think they're going to be throwaways after the fact, because we're going to... there's an inevitable conflict coming with Vanheim, I would assume, right? And so these Pakwos are going to potentially be little combat tricks for that inevitable conflict because of the cross paths that they have. So we'll talk more about that. That's a spoiler later on down the road. I say spoiler, not that it's happened necessarily, right? But like for the concept of it happening, right? Like I'll talk more about that when we actually pull the trigger on trying it. But I think that ultimately this isn't going to cost us too much other than some quality of life, and it's going to get our experience factory, the training montage, started sooner. Other thing that's happening this turn is Forgotten Woods. So I talked about this, right? Like, okay, what are we gonna do? We're going to we need to kind of amp up the ante on dealing with Forgotten Woods, but we still don't want to send in an army. So what are we gonna send in instead? This is what we're going to send in. We're going to be very cheeky here, and this is risking, right? This is risking a bit more. We've got 2 Huron priests and a Koya coming in. Now, what are we risking? Let's talk about what we're actually risking before we talk about what we're trying to accomplish. The goal, the concept here is that what we're risking is more than the Hatan Runa that we had risked previously, but it's still not a big deal to us. For another nation, throwing a cap-only mage and some of your best battlecasters at potential death might mean something. But for us, right, we're Nazca. These are mummification units. If we lose all 3, if everything goes horribly, wrong, nothing goes according to plan, and all 3 of these units die, what happens? Well, we get 2 Malqui priests and we get a royal Malqui, right? That's what happens. What happens? We lose a bit of gear, right? Like we lose 20 gems worth of earth, 5 fire, 5 air, 10 air, 15 nature, right? Like that's a big deal. We don't want to lose that. That's no bueno. We're not super happy about that, honestly. But you know, it's fine, right? Like at the end of the day, we can get that back. We have the gem reserves. It's okay. We just would prefer not to. Okay? So that's what we're risking. Still very low commitment. If we lose it, not a big deal. We'll be okay. So we're upping the ante, but only a little bit, right? Only a little bit. So what are we trying to accomplish here? We are trying to turn a Huron priest into an unkillable Watcher killer. That's what we're trying to do, right? This Huron priest is not going to kill Deer Tribe. Could kill the monolith if it got in with the monolith, but I don't expect it to get into the monolith, right? What we are trying to accomplish here is making this Huron priest be pretty much invulnerable to the enemies that are on this field of battle, and have it kill off some Watchers, right? And hopefully, here's the key thing. Hopefully, in killing off some Watchers, right, that will actually deplete HP and maybe rout the Deer Tribe. Because if the Deer Tribe rout and it's just Watchers and the monolith left, I feel easy peasy, right? With some complications. So, the idea being here is we're going to throw up anti-magic with our Koya to try to make it to where at 19 magic resistance, we have a much better chance of resisting things like Soul Slay or Paralyze or what have you, right? So that we're just not insta-gibbed, okay? That's not out of the realm of being able to be insta-gibbed. 19 is still very doable, but it's significantly safer than 15, right? So there's that. we have a fluffer here in another Huron Priest that is going to bless us, so we'll have our bless up. That means a bunch of different things. All the little parts and pieces of our bless. We're going to body ethereal, right? Meaning we can't really... 75% of the attacks from the deer tribe, nada, right? Luck, meaning if we were to die, we have a high chance of not dying, right? And Earthmite's just going to give us a little bit more strength, so we hit a little harder. Cool. No big deal. And then on the actual Huron Priest that's doing the... Cats are running behind me. Doing the work, we've got an Iron Skin, Air Shield, Temper Flesh, Summon Earth Power, Flying Shield. This combination is going to give us relatively high protection. We're going to have 27 or so protection, right? Should make us mostly invulnerable from the Deer Tribe, or to the Deer Tribe. Temper Flesh, assisting in that concept. Body Ethereal, assisting in that concept. Luck, assisting in that concept. Flying Shield, assisting in that concept. You see where we're going here. So all of that is to try to create a scenario where we're basically invulnerable to the Deer Tribe. The anti-magic is there to hopefully keep us from being insta-gibbed by the Monolith via astral spells. And then the Summon Earth Power in combination with the Boots of the Messenger should keep us from being encumbered. We should, I think we'll be fatigue neutral, right, is the idea? Or we'll be pretty close, right? Like, we shouldn't super fatigue out. We should get close to being fatigued out and then be relatively okay. And then... the combination of what we have, right? We have 40 shock resistance, so we should be immune to the Watchers. And the only concern that I really have is the gems on the Monolith, right? The gems on the Monolith being a bunch of Earth gems, Astral gems, and I think some Nature gems still, right? So that means potentially Swarm could fuck us up. Earth Elementals could fuck us up, right? So what I am hoping is that either the Monolith doesn't go that route, right? The AI just doesn't do that, or that we get lucky and we get surrounded by other shit and it doesn't matter and we're fine. Another concern is that if we land... if the Huron Priest lands in the Deer Tribe, this is all going to go tits up, right? Because the Huron Priest isn't going to kill shit with 7 attack when it comes to Deer Tribe. But the low attack doesn't matter against the Watchers because the Watchers have 0 defense, right? 7 attack is still plenty fine to hit a 0 defense unit, right? But it's not going to hit shit when it comes to a Deer Tribe or an Earth Elemental, say, right? Like, Earth Elemental, I think, is actually the big concern here. We will have Body Ethereal, so that will potentially help us, right? But I think if we get Earth Elemental, we're probably going to die. The other thing is just if we don't land in the right spot, right? Like, if we land in the midst of the Deer Tribe, the hope, right, is we want to land on the backside of the Watchers. Let's actually go look at the battle real quick. Like, what's going to happen, all these Deer Tribe are going to walk forward, right? They're going to get pretty close to us. They're going to be across the field. And the hope is that we're going to attack rear into the back of these Watchers, right? 0 defense skill. They've got, their whole shtick is lightning. We've got smashers, right? If we land on the back side of these guys, we can absolutely just start just slamming through them, and that's the goal, right? And if we pop, half of these fuckers, then that might rout the entirety of the Deer Tribe. I think it would take us so long to do that we would probably the battle would probably time out and we would probably run as well. But we're flying, so we'll just fly away and we'll just come back, right? Like, that's the fingers crossed hope. What is more likely is that this monolith is either going to zap us, or he's going to Earth Elemental us, or maybe swarm us, right? I probably should have worked some poison resistance. I say work some poison resistance. Actually, we have poison resistance in our Bless, so hopefully that doesn't matter. But the swarm would probably matter as a chaff scenario, right? Like, again, 7 attack is not going to do a good job killing things, so hopefully the monolith doesn't do that, but we'll see. Again, I'm not sure that this is going to work. I think it has a chance to work. I think this would work if it was the monolith without gems and just the watchers, right? I think we'd be fine here, but it's not, and that's annoying. That's what we've been trying to do, right? We've been trying to take parts out of the equation, but the game's not been helpful with that, so we're kind of having to up the ante. Aside from that, all of the movement that we've got going on is just moving around, reconsolidating forces, etc., no big deal. Other things, just moving scouts around, trying to get better vision here or there. The long siege of Ashdod. Ashdod, it's turn 51. Ashdod's been under siege for like 20 turns, right? Like, what the fuck? Vanheim and Ulm both. Pull the damn trigger. I say this. I suppose, right, like, the fortification isn't broken. I do think Van had the fort broken and then just didn't choose to go in, but I could be wrong. It might be that they never actually got it broken. They only had so much of an army. It wasn't really a sieging army. It's possible that Ashdod's in there just going, undead, 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 just trying to keep the walls up, right? So, I mean, that's fair. But god damn, Ashdod has been under siege for so long. I'm sure that this will happen eventually. Totally will happen eventually. Right? Question mark. Okay, let's move into actual mechanics for the turn. Fuck, I did not put. Yeah, let's move into actual mechanics for the turn. First thing up, we have buildings. We have 1 fortress going up in Mark, and we have 1 lab going up in Satrandith, right? And we already kind of like looked at the lab, so we know why we're putting a lab in Satrandith. 1, we want access to our items, right? 2, we want to be able to research. We want to get a couple of people in here and just sit in Satrandith, removing diseases, healing afflictions, while Pachacuti just trains up all the soldiers, and it'll be fantastic, right? That's the idea. And then Mark, we're just, upgrading the fortress. We have a temple here. We do not have a lab here. We probably need to get a lab here sooner rather than later. But we're not exactly flush with cash right now, so there's that. Let's talk about recruitment for the turn. Recruitment for the turn, we are doing 2 Akla, 2 Huron Priest, 1 Apu, 1 Pakwo of the Mountain, and 5 Sun Guard. So I feel like I've got to justify myself every turn. Basically, I feel every turn from here on, if we're not making a Royal Malqui, I got to justify why we're not making a Royal Malqui. Why aren't we making a Royal Malqui? Because I didn't have the money after the lab and the fortress to do a Royal Malqui and also do the other things that I felt like I needed. So instead, we're doing, some Huron Priests, some Aklas. Again, Aklas to continuously try to have the research that we need to, or bodies to put lightless lanterns on. Huron Priests to be able to fight battles for us. Pakwo of the Mountains, that is basically, we're probably going to continue to produce Pakwos of the Mountain Spirits in Bara, and maybe even in Neefel. We're not doing it this turn, but we might start doing it in Neefel, and start throwing until we get like 5, 10, something like that in Satrandith. We have to be careful, though. The other thing about Pakwos of the Mountain Spirits are they are heretics, so they will burn the Dominion down where you are at. But they do provide supply bonus, they are disease healers, they are bringers of fortune, right? So there is the odd possibility that we could get some, a good thing going in Satrandith if we stick it all there. It just probably won't be with our Dominion, basically. So there's that. And then all the other stuff is relatively typical, normal stuff. Let's talk about Nazcan recruits. This turn, we have 61 Hatenruna hanging out over here that we got. A very big turn for us, and that's because we have 4, 5, 6, 7 Malqui going now. Because we've recently lost more Malqui, so quite a bit. We're going to burn through this last bit of population in Miratrand pretty quickly. We might have to go up to, like, Golm or something like that. Maybe we can't go to Forest of Pines because of the Gateward Valley. It'll kill our Malquis. But yeah, so that's happening. And then we've got 70 long dead warriors. We're getting there. We're doing it, right? Like, we're getting to that point. We've got 10 Malqui priests generating long dead warriors right now. And then we've got 6 Supayas this turn. So pretty good. Pretty happy about where we are at with regards to that situation. Special recruits, we still have our singular dire wolf coming in each turn. Simple, easy peasy. Moving on to rituals. All the site searching. So rituals for the turn, we have 2 augury, 2 auspex, 1 voice of Apsu, 1 gnome lore, 1 arcane probing, and 2 dark knowledge. We don't have any horror specs because the people that we would have casting horror specs are a little bit busy this turn. Because they're forging stuff or making labs. So forging for the turn, we are doing 2 lightless lanterns, 1 endless bag of wine, and 1 enormous cauldron of broth. I don't know that I really need to explain that one. We've already talked at length about that situation, but the endless bag of wine and the enormous cauldron of broth are for Sat Randith. Enormous cauldron being 100 supply bonus. The endless bag of wine being 50, so that is 150, right? That will bring us close to in line with the addition of the 10 supply bonus from the royal, from the Paco of the Mountain Spirits, right? Coming in, we should be good. That'll be 160 additional supply there, which should bring us over the threshold on supply usage. We're also probably going to be making more endless bags of wine over the course of the next couple turns because we have access to a little bit more space here. We can use 200, or we can currently hold 260 living units, 80 undead units, and 45 magic units on Pachacuti. The idea is that we want to fucking scale all 3 of these numbers as high up as we can. And partially that's going to scale by him gaining experience, right? Pachacuti is also not just the infantry or the units that we have with him, right, are going to gain experience going into this Ancient Master. He's going to gain experience going into this Ancient Master. And as he gets experience, his leadership is going to go up, and we are going to use that to fit more bodies into this training montage location, right? But that works for the living side of things. It doesn't really work for the undead or the magic side of things. So we're going to look into making items to augment the amount of undead troops that he can take into the Ancient Master, the amount of magic troops he can take into the Undead Master, and the amount of regular troops that he can take into the Undead Master, right? So that's going to be a pretty interesting situation for us. It's just going to be, we're going to have to balance how much supply we have in Sat Randith. This is okay. I'm pretty sure next turn we're gonna have another 50 plus, right, diseases, and it's just gonna be difficult to manage as we go forward from that. So hopefully we don't lose too many units to our stupidity here, but you know, it is what it is. Fingers crossed. So anyways, that is that situation. Anything to really talk about? Research, we will have Conjuration 5 next turn. Conjuration 5 means summon Huacas, summon Supayas. we're probably not going to immediately turn in on the Summon Supayas train because we want those death gems for Well of Misery, right? So Well of Misery first, then we turn on the Summon Supayas, right? But the Summon Huacas, we might actually turn that on next turn and just be like, okay, well, we get 16 a turn. We can spend 15 a turn and still make one per turn and get, you know, with a Huaca headdress, we can get 7 Huacas per turn. We start sending those Huacas down to Pachacuti. We can hold 45 magic units right now. We'll scale that up with like a Crown of Command or something like that, right? And then Pachacuti is suddenly training up this army of 70 or so Huacas. Takes us 10 turns to get that amount of Huacas. You know, an odd turnout. You know, funneling them back and forth, right? So in 11 turns, we could have a thick ass stack of some really elite sacreds going on this like training montage, so that they get big and strong and can save us from ourselves, basically. Fingers crossed. I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's really all that we've got going on. The Great Betrayal continues to swing forward. At this point, we're not even really acting as if we're going to come to Jotun's aid. Right, we sent that kind of like guilt money last turn, and I do believe technically in the discussions it's like, oh yeah, sorry, we're coming, but I think it's kind of like just an overture of like, yeah, you're not coming, right, type scenario. While at the same time, right, that's kind of what's happening with Jotunheim, but at the same time, actually having legitimate discussions with Ulm, being like, look, we do need to do something about Vanheim. What are we going to do and when are we going to do it? And Ulm's response is basically being, okay, yes, we let's do something about Vanheim. I'm going to finish off Ashdod and I'm going to make my attack against Pelagia to make sure that they don't stay stuck around on land, right? So yeah, that's that kind of situation. We can also see up here Pelagia in the Viserion Arches is actually sitting on a throne right now. So on the west coast, Arco has one of the thrones. One of the thrones is still untaken because it is also a monolith Watcher province, because we know how much those suck. There are 3 of those on this map, by the way. 3 Watcher monolith thrones. Like, holy fuck balls, Batman. That is not playing. Those things are tough. But yeah, Pelagia has a throne, and with this second one, right, they haven't claimed either of them, but there is some concern now of like, oh shit, Pelagia's gonna, you know. So we have all the more reason to redouble our efforts against the Forgotten Woods. So anyways, that is going to be the end of this turn. Not a lot of actual stuff going on, at least not against other players, but, you know, I'm probably, I like Econ. I'm a bad player. I'm a bad multiplayer because I like Econ. I like just going like, ooh, let me maximize let me not fight you. Let me just maximize what's going on in my own nation. Really bad situation. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.